This morning, again, what you are is what comes out of your mouth, what you project is what people will take. How do you make sure that that brand makes sense not only to you, but to the people who you're projecting it to? This morning on Everyday Life.
Everyday Life
is brought to you by ICEA Group
and Star Times.
This morning, my guest is Lawrence Namale, who is an inspirational speaker, a motivational speaker, a life coach, a writer. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
The last time you were here, you were talking about your book. How's that going so far?
Our book is out. It's on Amazon. I'm here to ship some to Kampala. When I do, people will know.
All right.
Yeah.
Please come back when that is.
I will.
Yeah.
I will.
Lawrence, what goes wrong in our struggle to project this awesome brand? We have a visualization of what we want to become and the person that people want to be. What goes wrong when we fail to project that?
I think the most important thing is to know what it is that you're projecting. And to be able to know what it is that you're projecting, you have to be intentional. And what you need to do is to envision your audience or the people who benefit from your brand and feel their pain, where it is that they are hurting, and what solution you as a brand are offering to them. Once that is done, then your brand is deemed to be successful. We fail when we don't notice or realize the pain that our audience is going through. And when
that's the pain that the audience goes through.
Yes. If we don't know what is itching you, Brian, for example, we will not be able to come and project our brand to you and say, excuse me, Brian, this is where you're itching and this is my solution to that itch, you see. So if we do not know your pain, then we cannot be able to offer a solution that is packaged in form of a brand. So that's where many people fail.
That sounds like it is the company brand. For my personal brand, I apply the same principle?
Same principle. Company brand, yes. But you know, in these days and age, we are coming to that level where more and more people are getting ahead in their careers because of their personal brand, the way they have packaged themselves. So even as an individual, if you do not have a personal brand, what means that is you're limiting yourself, you're limiting your potential, you see. So when we talk about personal brand, we're not necessarily talking about, a company with a logo and so on and so forth. We're talking about you as an individual, having packaged your strengths, having packaged your audience, having packaged your value add to that audience. Not necessarily as an employee, but as a human being. Because I believe every human being has a value and a calling that they are called to do. And how do you offer that calling? How do you offer that value to who? That is how you package yourself. So it's not necessarily a company brand. More and more people are becoming successful in their careers because they have decided to intentionally package themselves, and they call them, they have themselves as a brand. Where you're moving away from titles. For example, instead of saying, I am a singer, you can say something like, I write songs that make people fall in love again.
That's how you can package.
That's a package. See, because you've zeroed in on the aspect of people falling in love, and you've come from your talent, which is singing. So you're merging those two things, and you're forming a brand in the process.
I mean, are there, for example, basics? If I am entertainer, this is what I need to do. If I am a motivational speaker, are there basics that you must do? The industry, basics.
Yeah,
every person who wants to set up a personal brand must do.
Of course. I think that the number one thing is to look at it from your angle of who I am. and what have I achieved, or what do I have as my strength so far. And you can easily find your strength from what comes naturally, you know, like someone who likes playing around with words, a motivational speaker or motivating speaker like me. That's my strength. That's the first thing. And you can add other talents, and you remove from that the things that you have been doing but you don't feel strong, you don't feel motivated by them. Those ones are not strength. Those ones are just necessary evils. So you get rid of those. So the second step is you look at your audience. See, what is your audience? And when you're talking about your audience, you have to be very sharp and specific in terms of who exactly is benefiting from you as a person. So you merge the two by bringing in value. So you have you and your strength, and you have your audience and their pain, and then you have the value that you're offering to bridge those two. That formula can work in any department, in any area. If you're an artist, if you're a scientist, whoever it is you are, if you're a writer. But the most important thing is that you have to go down to the very specifics. You cannot just say, I'm a writer. Because there are very many people who write. What do you write? Do you write fiction? Do you write history? Do you write motivational stuff? Do you write self-help? Do you write scripture? What do you write? So you have to be very specific. And a good example is this. A friend of mine, when we were starting these things about 5-10 years ago, she started writing about marriage. And you know, marriage is a very vast topic. And so far she's narrowed down to specifically newlyweds. So she's offering value to guys who are newlyweds, giving them bliss and happily ever afters. That is her brand. That is very niche specific. She's zeroed in on marriage, but she's zeroed in on the newlyweds. You see, so you define yourself and your strength. You start from there. Then define the audience to very specifics. This is not something that you can do generally. Someone said you should be a meaningful, specific, and not a wandering generality. See, so
that's tweetable,
Yes, tweetable. Someone should do that.
Patra, you should do that. Right? You should be a meaningful,
specific, instead of a wandering generality. Because if you are a wandering generality, the issue is that you will not make a difference. A personal brand is supposed not just to make you stand out, but it's supposed to help you make a difference with your audience.
In the cases of social media, we're all over Facebook all the time. Does this meaningful, specific encompass stuff like, you know, your absolute description of what you do? Some people will write literally a paragraph on who they are, and I see some people just write 3 words and that's it. Do you have specific rules on that? What you write? You know, like my profile on Twitter is, you know, it's a lot, and I want to, you know, and then I think, but that's the way I want my brand to be there.
See, that's now the beauty of doing a 180-degree turn and sit in the seat of your audience and perceive what they will perceive when they read your brand. Is that what you want them to read? Because what a brand is a promise of a unique value. So if they sit there and that's what you've written, do they perceive your value in such a way that they will come after you? That's the way you're supposed to craft it. So whether you're using very many words or you're using you know, something like an epitaph on a tombstone, see, it matters with what your audience perceives. That is the most important thing.
All right, if you have any question for Lawrence, you can call in right now and tell him. I know some people who are struggling with this branding, and they're always never deciding to do what they want to do about their brands. Numbers will be on your screen very soon, and also go to our Facebook page, Morning@NTV. You can also tweet us at Morning@NTV. Branding for small businesses, how does that work?
Branding for small businesses, same thing. You have an idea, and you have the people who are going to benefit in that idea. So what do? You create a brand that includes the value that you're going to add to those people. And then you go out. You see, the thing about branding is three things. It is knowing the brand it is that you want to be known with. And then owning that brand. Owning and knowing the brand can be a long process. And that's where planning and strategizing comes in. And then the most important thing which you hinted about is now showing the brand. See, you already know it, you own it, now you show it to the people. So in a small business, maybe you are a startup and so on and so forth, I think the most important thing is to know what value am I offering to my audience. And first, you need to know what audience it is that I'm serving. And then what value am I offering to that particular audience? And then you go out and now start showing the brand. That's where people normally do advertising. But these days, there is Twitter, there is LinkedIn, there is Facebook, and so on and so forth. You open your Facebook page, there are very many people who have Facebook pages that people can like. And in those pages, there are stuff that those guys offer.
And some people use different names. Is that dependent on the kind of person that you want people to know? If I know guys who are really humble person, but on Facebook they are lethal, like they're too hard, and they've used different names, and
Facebook ninjas and Twitter ninjas. You see, if you want really your brand to multiply your value exponentially, what you need to do, you have to be consistent. You cannot be one thing and then another in different platforms. So you try as much as possible to make sure that if you said you are a motivating speaker, that comes out in every paragraph on LinkedIn. That also shows on Facebook. That also shows on Twitter. That also shows on Instagram. So you cannot be one thing on Instagram, you're tweeting about, you know, let's say you're tweeting about violence in some countries, and then we go to your Instagram, we see photos of fashion and design. See, you're mixing us up. We're all over the place. You're spreading yourself too thin. We have to be razor sharp, niche specific. See, so we have to be consistent with what we're doing. What I'm doing on Twitter, what I'm doing on Facebook, what I'm doing on LinkedIn, they have to be consistent. And these platforms you mentioned, they are very powerful. They project in 140 characters, they project what it is inside of you intrinsically. And the way I perceive you at once, that's the way I'll take you. You might not have another chance to say, you know, to beef up your brand again. So let's be consistent in everything that we do.
All right.
Yeah.
Lawrence, always a pleasure. You can check out Lawrence Namale on Twitter and Facebook. How can people get in touch and even get other stuff you've written? On
Twitter, you go to @Namale. That's my Twitter page. On the blog, there is life-signatures.com. You'll find a lot of my ideas there, where you can find my materials, my books, and my contacts. They're found on life-signatures.com.
All right. Next time we'll be talking about the power of the website. Is it important or not? How do you build a website that makes sense and drives exactly what you want people to know? But also, the web provides interesting templates of websites. We'll have a web designer here to talk more about that. But for now, let's take a breather. When we come back, Aisha will be giving us the latest from the world of sports. Stay with us.